Hello to everyone joining us online today. Thank you for joining us for this artist talk with the incomparable Susan Aiden Abbott. My name is Lucie Lederhendler. I'm the curator here at the Art Gallery of Southwestern Manitoba, which is located in the city of Brandon in the southwest of the province of Manitoba, but on the eastern border of Treaty 2 territory, which, like the land that Susan is joining us from today, bounded by Treaty 1, is the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as the traditional shared lands of the Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Dene, and Anishinaabe people. So this is an acknowledgement through which we can remember and reinforce the stewards of these lands and honor the interconnectedness, the relatedness, and the relatedness of everything that occurs on those lands. So in that spirit, I like to draw attention to the issues of justice that are brought to the fore with the artwork that we present here. And so I invite you all to reflect today on what we mean by access. Access to medical care, potable water, housing, education, justice itself, and any number of things that might properly be considered basic human rights. And while we listen to Susan speak today, I will be thinking further on the way that a system can be manipulated to take agency from certain humans, to take the personhood out of the body in order to justify the withholding of access from them. Now, I will introduce Susan Aiden Abbott, who is based in Winnipeg on Treaty 1 territory. Her work is deeply personal and uses photography, sculpture, and film to create work that speaks to memory, resilience, trauma, violence, and survival. She uses silicone casts of her body and face to link architecture and landscape with her own personal history as she directly transfers the pain of her experiences against and into her own environment. Abbott has exhibited locally and nationally and attended residencies in Hamilton, Ontario at Centre 3 and Feminist Art Collective in Toronto. Her work was spotlighted on Canada Council's website in 2018. She has received numerous grants to complete a body of work on the subject of an abandoned mental asylum titled Booby Hatch, Wool Manifesto, A Feminine Perspective of Century Manor. She is also one of the warmest, most encouraging people I have ever met. Just before we bring her up, I'll also remind everyone that you can engage with us through the comment sections wherever you're joining us from, and we will see any comments you have and can address your questions after the presentation. Welcome, Susan. Technical difficulties, as always.
Sorry.
There we go. Welcome, Susan.
Hi. How are you? Oh, this is perfect. It's okay. It's okay. I think it's okay right now.
Okay.
I don't know what
in the world, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, very nervous. Thank you for everyone putting up with me as I kind of say a few things at the beginning and then talk about my work. But okay, here we go. I thought I would mention, first of all, that I'm super nervous and I'm a creature of mood. So everything, my life, my art, everything depends on my moods. And so my artwork itself, it takes a dark turn. I do dark subject matter, mostly because when I'm prolific or making art, it's when I'm in that state. And I let my art take the direction it takes, spontaneous and quick. And it has to speak to me and say what I want it to say, but I'm always full of doubt. And I really struggle with, on one hand, trying to please and do what's proper, but I'm just attracted to dark subject matter and stuff that is taboo and stigmatized and really, I don't know whether I have this passion, maybe the female rage or being older and not giving a shit, that I want to talk about stuff that really society judges and doesn't really want to talk about, especially as women, I feel, and anyone that's in a position of underpower and control. So what else? Let's just go. Okay, so I'm starting.
I think we might need to the presentation computer might need to relink to the link.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no. Oh no.
Maybe you can just refresh it.
Did I do it? No.
It is there. Okay. Now you need to share the screen again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Share. Oh my gosh, I'm shaking. Oh, this is perfect. Share.
If it was perfect, it would offend the gods, right?
Right? Oh, Susan. Chrome tab, is it? Artist tab.
Yeah.
There we are. Hey, hey.
Right back.
Boom. Thank you for putting up with me. This is priceless. I'm going to say sorry, but I'm learning to say thank you for putting up with me.
That's it.
So I was looking through stuff, and I didn't want to go totally into my whole life and backstory. I just thought I'd talk about my work and how I got to making the work I'm doing right now, and kind of the time everything kind of changed. I went back to art school after I was separated and raising my kids, and my kids talked me into going to art school. So I went back and took some classes just to get painting again. And so when I started realizing that the work that I do came about with shame, and shame's been probably one of the biggest things in my life, and it's my confrontation and my everything, my trauma and anything I've been through, or I don't know, I just feel like I've just been unburdened, like heavy shame. So this painting I started with, this is shame. And then I was always, certain colors came into effect, and I realized, I think also, that I'm not the most beautiful painter. My work is pretty ugly and dirty, and so instead of fighting it, I still fight it. Who am I kidding? My kids or whoever just said, you have to learn just to embrace it, and this is just you. So I just started kind of playing around with that, and everything. I don't know. I when I do my work, I do it until I feel it gets a feeling across, but it's always dark undertones, and I like to. I'm the worst speaker. I like it dirty, and I like it to be shocking, but this was just the beginning and hints of that was coming into my work. This is a piece that I did about losing a child, my mother, but that will be in the future work. My son, my sister, and then once I started just embracing that, and as I say, when I do my work, I'm in a certain state, and I personally are in a dark space, and it will start something, and I could even have like a flower, but it will take, just with my mind and just letting myself go, it goes back towards trauma or trying to deal with something. So it's very spontaneous, and I learned just to kind of embrace it. Once I got into painting and learned about mentorships and wanted to learn more about different ways to express myself, I took a mentorship at Martha Street Studio and learned printmaking. So this is a print that I made, silkscreen print. And at the end of the thing, we had an exhibition with the four. Was it four? Yeah, four wonderful, wonderful artists again that were women. And this was the piece that I made. It was called Bear Witness, and it was a linoleum that I had carved up and covered with dirt, and this is all my underneath qualities that I've highlighted here. And then I peeled, I had carved into it deprecating text, how I talk to myself or what I feel or what I've called or what other people have called me. And I printed that I put a resin peel on top of it, so that captured those texts. And this was my section of the show, Canary in the Coal Mine. I had also started doing prints, which is part of it, and this is when it kind of the world opened up, or I don't know, my art opened up more to kind of get that nasty, dark undertone that I guess I like. I started doing these linoleum pieces that I smudged and smeared, and I did them of all the ages of times that I was traumatized and that I disassociated. So these are all just prints of the different ages, just a few of them. And at the same time, when I was trying to figure, I was thinking about the different ages I was in, and I thought at the same time I'd try painting. So this is me at the time, and I'm trying to reunite all of me's around me. So this just is a self-portrait of myself with all my others. And these are just a triptych I did of them. And then after that, I'm not a huge drawer or sketcher, but I had the opportunity, and it was at Christmas time, which really, I'm not Santa cheer here. So, but it was a great opportunity because it forced me, that's probably my darkest time of the year, to make some work. I had an opportunity to be in a show at Les Maisons, so to draw. So I started doing these self-portraits of myself at that time. And again, it started bringing up trauma, but more pieces to my past. And this is probably the first time I kind of looked at sexual assault and rape in my work, other than the painting, but that was it. And then after that, I had an opportunity, and I know I'm talking fast, so I'll slow down. I had an opportunity. I got a residency in Toronto, in Hamilton, actually, and I thought it was going to be printmaking because it was through Martha Street that I had gotten it. So I went down there, and before I left, I had started playing around with silicone, and my son, who's got his master's in the States, he taught me how to do silicone casting. So when I left on the plane to go down there, I didn't have a clue what I was doing in my usual. So I happened to throw these masks in my suitcase. So I brought them down there, and I had learned just before, like, to get the residency, I'd learned that there was an abandoned insane asylum that was close to where I was raised, and in Beamsville, but by Hamilton. And my history with mental illness is pretty deep and widespread. My mother suffered her whole life with a kind of undiagnosed mental illness. So that kind of hit a spot because my mom never really sought help. And if she had of, this is possibly the hospital that she would have gone to. So I went to this hospital, and it's there used to be a huge asylum, like massive buildings and all this stuff, but there's only right now Century Manor. It's the last standing building that's there. And so I heard about her, I love her. I heard about her, so I was really excited to go see her, but I didn't know what to expect. And of course, in my head and overwhelmed and, full of doubt and fucked, I went there and got on the grounds, and I lost it. I just completely melted and absorbed. And I spent the whole day, I spent like 12 hours following the sun and just laying back and taking pictures. And I had brought these masks of my face, and I put them up on her, and I was just in reverence and in love with this building. Like, she's older, and maybe that's where I'm at in my life or whatever, but it was a reflection of her grace and her history and all the stories that made her up. And I just felt really humbled and honored to be there. So I took these pictures. I never ended doing printmaking, but I did photographs of my faces on the building and on the ground. And this is Suicide Point. It's up in the escarpment. So it's up in the escarpment. It's really high, and there's just this fence there. And she sits across the fields, and these fields used to be all the buildings, but she's just by herself, pulled back. But this is where people that were, would have a tendency to commit suicide was off just through this gate here, which I thought was really powerful. And this is one of the masks I made of myself. My happy self. This is my happy. And after that, I played around a little bit of, I don't even know what you call it, layering prints and playing around with that kind of stuff. That there was a brief mentorship or one-day mentorship with Colette from Montreal. So I did this with Century Manor and with my mask. That's kind of my mask, eyes and stuff, kind of over her. And then my son came with me, and we went back, and I did a bunch of Super 8 film there. So I still have the film that I want to work on, but these are just some stills of her. And wearing the mask in the field. So that led me to coming back and playing more with silicone. I had, again, whatever, I was just in everything brought up. So I just started looking at my rape and my gang rape that happened, 30 years ago. And I was trying to think of a way to, I don't know, I didn't even really think about it. It just came naturally that I wanted to do a copy with silicone of my upper body and my feet, all the parts of my body that were like covered when I was raped. So I cast this of my upper torso and my feet and partial legs where stuff was pulled. So I left her like this because I really liked her just playing around with silicone. I could play in a way with color. I got back a little bit more into color because I certainly went black and white there for a while. But I wanted to capture skin tone, but bruising and just history kind of. And my body certainly shows that I have aged through this and become stronger in a way for it. So I liked her to be kind of rough and raw. And this is, I think, when I really started embracing that that's my style, or that's how I feel. I let myself be me. This is like my truth. I don't want it to be pretty or tidied or whatever. So I think this is a really important time for me. And I had an opportunity to be in a group show at C103 at University of Winnipeg, which was with Nor Banjou. And she was a bomb, and all the other artists were incredible. And I was just so honored to be. And I had my wrought pieces in that show. But yeah. This is me at the show. And then after that, at the same time, when my son was doing this cool Super 8 and film stuff, I started looking into that as well after the asylum. And I was thinking about the times tracing back where I've disassociated or disconnected from my body. So I had my son film from above me because I liked the idea of me looking down, because that's how, in a lot of ways, I did at different times. It was looking down at myself. And I felt it was important with this to come back to myself. So this is just me nude lying in the pieces in outside. That's rebirth. And these are just the pieces in the snow. And I spend a lot of time with my with my stuff. I spend a lot of time with just seeing and I really like the winter and the harsh cold, because that's how it's like frozen in time. And I felt a lot of this trauma and stuff, and it relates to Piggy Sal in the way that it's frozen in time. So it's important for me to have the harsh landscape in our environment because it's locked there. It's kind of, so that's just. And these are just paintings. I was playing around with my masks. Not the prettiest. So these, it's an evolving work on this stuff. It's still a work in process, my asylum stuff. And this is just my beautiful painting style. This is me I was thinking about how postpartum and I think this is when it started, when I was thinking about shock therapy and my experience with it, because I had 6 kids that were 6 and under. And I was constantly pregnant or pregnant or just had a baby, and dealt with a lot of really severe postpartum depression. And so this kind of led, this is just silicone or different art things. Sorry, I don't, ignore that. This led to Piggy. So it all came about at that time when I was in a mentorship at Video Pool with amazing girls, Susan and Yvette and Andrea, and we started thinking, we're all working on our own stuff, but it became really personal, and it gave us time to really, I don't know, I just felt really easy and safe to explore that rawness of my experience with shock therapy and how it had really, it was a horrific experience for me. And I look back, and I was, I think, 6 months pregnant at the time with my 4th child. And I was not doing well. I was severely depressed, and I had, and you know, not good. But I had got like almost talked into having shock therapy and just do it kind of thing. But I felt I was supremely vulnerable and also trusted, and I knew nothing about it. I was terrified. I only heard about it and that kind of stuff. But I was put in a position where I had really no other choice, because I couldn't take medication or anything else. And I was so dark and really spiraling. So I accepted it, and I went to get it done. But just being there and not having any idea, and extremely scared. I was terrified, not knowing what was going to happen. And I felt afterwards that it almost accentuated all my problems. It made me more disconnected. I lost memory. I used to have a really, really good memory. I think the cure was much worse than the disease itself. I think there could possibly have been other ways. I just feel like I wasn't given the opportunity to, I don't know. It was tough. So when I started thinking about doing this, I had gotten some mannequins, these pregnant mannequins. They were $50 at, I think, Value Village or something like that. So I hauled home these 4 mannequins. I got some great pictures of the car with these. And so I thought, okay, I didn't know where to start, but I knew I wanted to start with that and do a cast of the pregnant belly. So I can't go, you'll see in a second. So I did that, and then I started just, I'm not a big researcher or anything before this. I kind of just did work and a little bit with the asylum, but never heavy duty research. But I was trying to understand it more and getting all the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And I realized that it was first created in 1938 in Rome to subdue pigs for slaughter. So that really struck a chord with me, because talk about vulnerable, and it's a nightmare. Like, fuck, who are we kidding? Like, you know. So the pig came to the forefront, and then that led to me thinking about names, thinking about her, and of course sow. And I thought that's perfect, because as a woman, I mean, it's derogatory, and it kind of pulls in that, you know, insult, degradation. But also it can be sow, which is also like, you know, to sow seeds or plant an idea, and also a female pig. So I thought, yeah, I have to find out where I can get this pig. And if I could, I needed her mostly because when I thought about how to create it, I thought about creating it, you know, with cardboard or doing some kind of model or something like that. But I happened upon, and I find this the worst part, is I happen to find you can get them at a butcher shop, and for a whole head of a pig, it's $8.20. So I picked her up, and I brought her home and baked her and cast her. This is my process when I was casting her in silicone on my dining room table. And this is what became of her. So when I saw this, I don't know, I thought she was gorgeous. And I felt she was just, the colors and just the glow, there was something just beautiful about her. And I felt a great reverence and respect for her, that I was giving her life. So this is just the cast here of the plaster over on top of the mannequin thing. But then I had also got her hoof, like not her necessarily hers, but I got hoofs which were like $250, which is criminal anyway, and my hand. So I started thinking about how I was going to put her together. I should go back here. But at this point too, I felt a real kinship with her, and I wanted her to be us surviving. So I felt it was important to put some of my characteristics in her. So I put kind of my smile in her, and I also got eye color, like eyes that were similar to mine. This is when I was making the cast of the hospital gown, like the pregnant. And then I just started taking pictures because I loved the beauty of us together. I don't know, she just really seemed to give me strength, or I felt I was doing it for us now, and it wasn't just as self-involved. I don't know. So this is a little video when I took her outside as well. And at this point, I hadn't done the arms, but I brought her outside just to kind of get an idea of us together again in a winter landscape. And there she is. And that leads me to, again, wanting my son. So my son videotaped me from above again in the snow wearing a hospital gown and with her head and mine together. So these are just stills of the video that plays above her. And this is her when I'm trying to figure out how, like, pulling parts together to figure out, you know, the shock thing and the headband and my hands and all that together. So she's looking more like me every day. I got pig skin and I painted it and made arms out of that and drew on my tattoo and kind of tried to make her one piece. And that's just a close-up of her eye, which is, as I say, based on my eye. And this is just some of the video that plays of me in the snow. And it was funny because I was right into it, and it was like 40 degrees below zero. And I'm out there and back and forth and just wearing a hospital gown. And I was grinding in the snow and I was trying to, you know, Miss Actress or whatever. But I did it like 3 or 4 times. Like it came in, warmed up, went back out. And I actually got frostbite on my heel without even really realizing how quickly that can happen. And this is when I was trying to play around. She should be in a bed, whatever. So I got this table, this stainless steel table, because it's kind of like the gurney, and it's also kind of like the tables they put you on in the operating room. And I had made these guys just out of motorcycle handles. So it was she was coming together. And I don't know. Yeah, this is just her in the studio before I ordered to get the harnesses and the wristbands and stuff like that. And I wanted them to be old school with the locks and bondage kind of, but it was kind of funny because I'm looking for this stuff and I had to get it from a sex place. So in the UK, sex shop. So this is when this was at plug-in. No, not plug-in, whatever it's called. I can't remember the name. Video pool. This is from that show. And these are the bands, the harnesses and stuff. I'm the worst talker. This is just another still, a bunch of stills, but I felt they related to different subject matter. This is like postpartum. And this is one of my favorite shots. And Piggy came home with me. I had her in the spare room and she stayed there. And when we had a chance to be in this amazing show in Brandon, she's means so much. Like, I wouldn't allow her to go. I had to drive her separately and bring her there and set her up. So this is her in the back of my van. And this is just a shot from there. And this is a little video. Whoops. And I purposely picked audio. I wanted it to be audio, and I wanted it to be desensitized. I wanted people to get a visceral reaction, and I'm getting a lot of people that get a very visceral reaction from it, which is another subject. But she should, like, there is pig squealing, but that was on purpose because she would be squealing if she was in that position. I also have fetal heartbeat because I was pregnant at that time. And so it's just a kind of abstract thing because this work, I feel, has to be, it's loud and a lot of people probably won't like it, but I just feel very strongly that important that the subject matter has to be loud. We have to talk about it and we have to put it out there. And with, she has to be visceral and raw because that's how I was. And maybe, I don't know, this is what I do. I'm the worst talker. This is just a picture of me in the gallery when I was setting her up and adjusting her. That's all I got, folks.
Thanks, Susan. There's also the light under the table. I remember I was like, I think it's broken. It only turns on when I stomp right next to it. I thought I was fixing it, like when you smack the side of an old TV. But it's a motion sensor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which so you it's hard to approach Piggy because you get in the projection because the projection takes over the whole space. And then once you do, it spotlights you. So it kind of there's this it implicates the viewer. Activates at this moment. Yeah.
And I really liked when we were there, the shadows. I thought it was really interesting that the shadows, when you're in it and it projects your part of it. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I'll remind everybody that you can engage with us over the comments, and we'll give you a chance to do that. I would like to ask you a few questions. Let's start. Okay. So there's kind of an overarching sense of wordplay in all of this practice that you've done.
Right.
And I was particularly struck when you talk about dark undertones.
Yeah.
Because you're using it to mean, specifically kind of an emotional output of your work, but that's also, a formal quality of your work.
Yeah.
Where the undertones are all quite dark, and then the fluorescence is almost sarcastic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have tried because I can be happy. But when I'm happy, I'm gardening, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm more manic and I can't concentrate or something, but I'm more driven to make work or produce, like just to be in that when I'm darker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that especially having started this practice later in life, maybe at a moment when you were ready to change the nature of the dissociation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially with the work on Century Manor, I just keep getting this image of you kind of entering the darkness, right? You love this manor because she's so horrific, because she's so frightening.
Yes.
Yeah. And this similar to your son shooting you from above, this dissociation, but then turning back around and staring. Right.
Yes, exactly. And I think I've mentioned this when we've talked before. It's you're always terrified of these places. They're are terrifying, but when you're there, there's a beauty in that terror. Like there's light there if you look. Like it's not. I don't think my work is terribly hopeless. I would hope. Well, it could be. I guess I don't know. I just feel like it's passing through and it's in a way embracing that, and I really don't want to, or I hope I'm not coming across. I don't like being a victim. I'm not in that mentality. I think I'm like, maybe because I am older as well too. Like I'm a survivor, so I want that innocent. Like a lot of the stuff was when I was invulnerable and innocent, but by talking about it and stuff like that, it gives strength, and I hope it does. To some people that look at it, like it's
there's a really active empowerment in that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. This movement from the super saturated painting to the black and white. I hadn't seen your self portraits. Did you make those from your face or from photographs? The portraits from the Martha Street installation.
I made that based on photographs when I was looking through at the different ages. I looked through and tried to see myself at that age, and they were semi-based on that. So I sketched them out, and then I did lithographs or whatever, monoprints of them. But each was unique, kind of, because I smeared and I played around with the abuse. Like I abused the prints to kind of mimic that you don't see. It's the hidden kind of stuff. It was like shining a face of, in a way, tattoos, like invisible tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or bruises.
Yeah.
Because it's so for the early paintings where you have literally that dark undertone and then the fluorescence on top, by taking away all of the saturated colors, it's all about your own manipulation of these things.
Right. Yeah. And as I say, as a painter, I can get lost. I don't know, it's me, but I get lost in color. Like I'm obsessed with color. So when I'm in it, I can't just do light. It has to be, and it's just never ending,
Right. Right, because there's two ways to understand light. One of them is more white, and one of them is more brightness.
Yeah. I find probably painting to be the hardest because I can never leave it alone. I can get lost in it, and it becomes almost a hatred. So I don't mind doing it now and again, but I go in there thinking, oh, this could be fun, oh, let's start. But by the end, I fucking hate it, and then I know I'm done. That's the only time I know I'm done is when
you're like, oh no, I did it again.
Yeah.
This is going back a little bit, but the suicide escarpment at the Manor.
Yep.
That photo that you showed us. That's kind of when I started reconciling this big kind of visual metaphor of looking back and entering, the idea that there would be an open gate to the suicide escarpment, right? Demonstrably to keep people out, but it's still a door, right?
Yep. And now there's a path there, and it's there's a little lock, but it's been busted. I mean, the place is, in ruins, kind of, and it's in, right now there's a very good possibility it would be tore down, which is really a shame. But it's right there. Like, and I mean, the Escarpment, I don't know if you're familiar with that area. You're down. Like,
Yeah. Is it? Were you able to enter inside, or is it condemned?
It's condemned, and
and yes,
it became such a part of me, and I had such respect for her that when I went back with my son to do, it's all boarded up because the windows have been smashed. It's really in disrepair, and it's been, condemned. but kids have been going in there to party and do all that stuff. And I'm sure the inside, but I saw people breaking in and I was like on them, like, how dare you do that? Like I felt really, she was really disrespected. I took it very personally, like, how dare you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, well, first of all, that we're doing this talk because we have Criptych in the main gallery right now, which features the work of 3 other artists as well, that was created through residency at Video Pool from the photos that we saw. And anybody who's watching can go back to the AGSM's YouTube channel to see a luncheon look with all of those artists and a panel discussion about disability in the arts and cripping the arts, as it's called, which covers different aspects of the exhibition and the residency process. So just a reminder, because I didn't even mention the show. Logistical question about the hideous eyeballs in your masks of your own face.
Yep.
What the process is for getting those pupils in there, getting those irises.
I'm a fan of the tanning bed, so those are tanning goggles.
Yeah.
In the manic one, I like that effect because I mean that's almost like cartoon, and you think of the happy and the sad. So I wanted that really strong, crazy, happy. So that's what I use in that. And the other one, when I'm trying to be, darker and stuff like that, my eyes are closed. Yeah.
Okay. But that one that's so kind of bug-eyed.
Yeah.
From the tanning. Yeah. And then something so before we go straight to Piggy and the things that I learned about your talk today, you skipped over some of those silicone pieces with the thistles. And yes. I wondered if it was just because you felt like you were losing track of your story, because I had never seen those either.
Oh, yeah, the ones with the thistles and stuff. I was playing around, I think, at the same time with Piggy, and not every silicone cast I make is going to work. Like, it's all a process, and so I had made this hand and it was super shiny and deformed and stuff. So I just played around with it, and I also put plaster on it, and the plaster got stuck. So I kind of played around with the flower with the idea of a birth, and so because it reminded me kind of, I don't know, it's kind of really sensual and lifelike, blobby, and just something growing out of it. So I stuck flowers in it too, and I love black and white, and I'm not a photographer at all, but I like playing around with that kind of stuff. So those 2 pictures I was just playing around with, and then there's one of my daughter that I did a cast of her face, because I'm starting to look at work. I have so many traumas to cover. So I'm starting to look at doing work about losing a daughter that is actually my daughter's twin that passed away. So it's a cast of her face, and I'm gonna. So these are just ideas that I'm looking at.
I thought they were really interesting because even as you just flew by them, they're so Victorian Gothic, and including the death mask.
Yes.
But especially just the aesthetic of those thistles, which made me realize how Victorian Gothic all of your work is without doing any kind of formal nod to it.
Right. Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah. Well, I guess Century Manor is pretty
yes.
Victorian, but when you actually bring everything together, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I haven't really looked through, you just do stuff and you don't have a chance to really look through it. So it was interesting just thinking back and seeing how, in a way, there's ties through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, playing around with and seeing what you can do with the discarded pieces.
Yeah.
Obviously that's going to come from a large undertaking like S.O.W, but then making the decision to do these high contrast black and white, still lives, and yeah. So speaking of sow. Now, what I did not know, what we haven't talked about before, was how cheap all of these butcher pieces are.
Right.
Which is so interesting because what we've spoken at length is about a woman's body being discarded, being
Right.
treated as though there isn't a person inside of it.
Right.
And so with these pigs from the butcher, the devaluing of,
right.
of what used to be a
Yes.
vital entity,
Absolutely.
because it's no longer useful for food.
Right. Yep. I found that deeply, like, and I saw the similarities, but I was like, I'm deeply, I don't know, it really affects me with her. And as I say, I have deep, I really love her. Like, she's, I feel like I have an ode to her. I'm you know, amazing respect in the way that like, she's not discarded. I'm trying to give her, I don't talk totally, I could, that's another thing with animal rights and slaughterhouse and all that kind of stuff, right? But you can talk, there are similarities, and you can talk about one and the other together. Like, you don't have to, I don't know, because I have deep respect. And just when I was thinking back, and this is kind of interesting too, is that it's a little piggy story for you. As when back in when my first two boys were born, Josh was probably 2.5, and Scotty was like 9 months old in 91 probably. I got a potbelly pig. And I had dogs and cats, but I wanted a potbelly pig, so I had a potbelly pig, Arnold. So brought him home, and I raised him, and he was awesome. But it just made me think back, because we moved out to the country after that, and selling the house. What are you going to do with the pig when you're showing a house? So I had kids, like one kid on each hip, and I had Arnold in the playpen. So Piggy's been, so I love pigs. I just thought it was really interesting that, and maybe because I'm going to touch on this now, that I know my work is visceral and raw and gets a reaction, and I'm game for that. Like, I understand that a lot of people probably won't like it, and that's fine. But I feel like I give respect and honor the pig, and I don't cheapen her, and I in a way call out to that.
Yeah. Well, there's you consider the hooves as hands, right? Not as a thickening agent.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hey, these used to use these.
Yep.
And then you got electrocuted, and then you got slaughtered, and then you got cut up, and I just bought it for $1.50.
Yes. And she's screaming because she's screaming. Like, it's our voices together in a way, but it was because the whole treatment and disregard is horrific. So, as I say, I know and that's fine, but I want it to be horrific. So there you go.
Totally. When we first installed it before we opened, I went, "Oh, this is hideous," and you went,
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people respond really like instantly to the broken manicure, to those nails being pulled off. I think that's a pretty standard torturous, goosebump inducing image.
Right.
But again, with that those nails broken on the hoof of a pig, right?
And I was just trying to think, I was doing the hands. I mean, you're awake, whatever, you'd be scratching and trying to, so yeah.
So to wrap up with the maybe impossibly big question, but this trajectory that you shared with us today.
Yes.
So I want to talk about the shame that starts, and then the confrontation that we're at now, this head-on addressing of these issues that you've had a problem with. And I wonder if there's a way in the middle to talk about, specifically because of the friendship that I witnessed between you and the other artists in Criptych, the relationship of care in there. And we know that you have a lot of collaboration with your family.
Right.
And all of those things. So that sense of community and care during this artistic and personal trajectory for you.
It's really important to me, and with the artist or my family, and that I've come to a space where I'm dealing with this because I never dealt with all this stuff. I never learned how to deal with all this stuff. So when I come at it, when I'm thinking about this stuff, I don't have censors, and it becomes very real, and it's a process for me. But so being surrounded with a safe place where I can feel vulnerable, and feeling vulnerable is in a way been ripped away from me. So coming back with trust and safety and allowing myself to be vulnerable and not judged is means everything to me, because it's a process, and I know this is my lifelong struggle, right? So the care and understanding from people, and allowing me to be, as I say, I have a lot of issues, and I've dealt with a lot of stuff that certainly a lot of people have dealt with a lot of stuff. It's just it's with myself, and probably my mental state, and just the way I am. I can be all over the place, and very high and very low. So to be allowed to be all that and messy and safe is, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. I think it speaks to, and something that I think that you and I would agree on, that removing the taboo from mental illness is a community struggle.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You can't do it for yourself without somebody else doing it for themselves, and for you guys doing it for each other.
Right. And it does, and you need that to give you the energy, because I'm not going to go away. I don't, I'm going to probably get louder. So I need that. I need that strength for me, because I think that this just brings up, and I know it's because I'm older and I'm starting not to give a fuck, is that I want to, talk about things, and a lot of them are women with issues, like where the people confronting stuff that we're not allowed to talk about. And patriarchy, like when I that could be another whole friggin' whatever, just so I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm going to be louder and prouder, and probably more shameless. So
yeah, well, here's hoping.
Yeah.
Same if you just started doing landscapes now. You go all pastel suddenly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because so with that Martha Street installation, that was titled "Bear Witness," right?
Yep.
Yeah. Again, a play on words.
Yep.
But then subsequently, just exactly what you're doing, right? Is turning back around and staring.
Yes. And it's not supposed to be pretty. Like most stuff in life isn't pretty. And I love pretty. I just can't do pretty.
Yeah. Because it bores you?
I don't know. I just can't do it. I tried.
You tried?
I tried many times.
I want to see you try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do wonder if it's an issue of a difficulty of finding truth in beauty, like that you have to find a base.
Yeah, I think so. And for me, I has to be honest. Like when I do my work, if I do something and it doesn't feel like it's part of me, I don't know, part of me, or I haven't really invested, like I have to sneak it in. Or then I just I can't leave it. I have to fucking hate it. And then there we go.
I was about to say, speaking of sneaking it in, you've done really well with cursing.
No, I saw that, so I thought I'd stick in a few.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't end totally clean, could we?
No.
Yeah. Okay, well that's our hour. So, unless you have anything else that you'd like to add before we say goodbye to all of our fans.
Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you putting up with me.
I'll see you soon, and we'll miss Piggy when she's gone.
Yes, I'm coming back. I'm taking her to the asylum right after. I see you there
Yeah.
in Vernon, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Susan. You have a great
Love
day.
you. Okay. Woo!